Good morning and a warm welcome, and thank you for keeping it right here on CTV. You're just in time for your favorite segment where we have real life conversations, and this is our views. Well, most of these conversations are either triggered by what we go through, what we have seen on social media, and we're like, this one we have to bring it to the table and give it an insight on what the ladies have to say. Well, joining me to my far left is none other than Apollo Sarah, and right in the middle is Agi Uwase. Good morning, ladies, and thank you for joining me this morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Today, we're going to be talking about FOMO, fear of missing out. The recent one I actually experienced was when, what's his name? Wow, his name has skipped. An artist that came to
Fireboy?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Speaking in unison.
I think looking back at how agitated I was when I hadn't yet gotten my ticket, I don't know whether the issue was between my fear of missing out or whether I actually wanted to go, or how my friends would sort of see it if I did not show up at the Fireboy concert.
Yeah.
So anyway, before we get even into what other ladies' experience of FOMO has been, the most important thing first is even to explain what FOMO is. And this is it. Well, what is FOMO? FOMO is the fear of missing out, fear of not being included in something such as an interesting or an enjoyable activity. Well, the next one is the fear of missing out refers to the feeling or perception that others could be having more fun, living better lives, or even experiencing better things than you are. It involves a deep sense of envy and affects self-esteem, and it is often excavated by social media sites. So ladies, tell us, now is the time to tell. Have you had any experience with the fear of missing out? Please share.
I haven't had so many experiences of FOMO. I don't know how realistic that sounds.
Were you ever a teenager?
Yes. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how realistic this sounds. It may not, but I did not, because even back in school, we did have prom. A lot, when people prepare, buying dresses and all that. And, I was just sitting back and, enjoying looking at people, getting ready to go for prom. And I think that is when I realized that I never have FOMO. Well, I've had those few instances, but it's not something that I've had to deal with like so much. And now growing up, I think that helped me, like, until this day. Shivan is talking about Fireboy. I had multiple friends who were going for Fireboy and saying, Uwase, we need to go. You need, to have a social life. You need to be happy. Let's go have fun. And I'm like, guys, go and enjoy yourselves. And, I was just watching on Snap, watching on Instagram, and I was so fine with it. The only time I did experience FOMO was at campus. And I had like about 5 friends that we used to go to social events with blankets and wine, brunch and all that. So I think that was the only time, because every time they would come back and then tell you about the experiences, and then maybe the reasons that I missed out on some of those events was because I just wanted to be probably in my hostel sleeping. That's my way of life. That's how I love it. So, but I did experience a little bit of FOMO. I felt like I'm missing out on the social life. I'm missing out on meeting new people, because every time they'd come talk about the experiences, the people they met, how beneficial it's been to them. That is the only time I've experienced FOMO. However, I know of people who whereby FOMO is like that it has actually impacted their mental health a lot, whereby you find they're depressed or lonely. They feel like they're missing out on so many good things in life. And I think but I'm sharing someone else's experience, and right now I think they're getting to their 30s.
Yeah.
And all their friends, that person's friends, all her friends are actually married and they have kids. So now she feels like, oh my goodness, I'm missing out on something. I'm not married by this age. She feels lonely. She feels detached. She has actually detached herself completely from her friends and, the world. She feels like she's going through like a very terrible experience. And I think that is FOMO. Isn't that FOMO?
Yes,
because
it
you
is.
fear that you're aging and you're missing out on the experience of having a family.
Yeah.
And yet for her, at the back of her mind, she has always talked about, I don't want to get married. I don't want that marital status kind of situation. But now that all her friends are married and have kids, she's now, feeling it. She feels like she's missing out on something important in her life.
Okay.
Well, for me, FOMO, I experienced that a lot as a teenager growing up. Going to the club or trying out alcohol, you know, trying a cigarette. Oh my goodness, if my parents are watching. Yes, I'm
Did you
sorry.
say that out loud?
I'm so sorry. Forgive me. But yes, it is FOMO. Why we experience that is because we as human beings, we bank so much on wanting to belong. Wanting to have to experience something, wanting to be a part of that culture or a part of that tribe. That is what drives us to do things. It's not necessarily the fact that we want to do it, but we want to be seen, to be included. We want to be, we want to have friends. We want to have interesting stories that we can also tell about people. We want attention. Do you understand what I mean? So basically, FOMO is caused by feelings of anxiety because you fear to miss out on that experience, and you want to have that experience that you can be a part of the cool people. And that part is, FOMO is generated by the amygdala, and that is the part in our brain that detects whether something is either a threat or good for us, whether it is either a threat to our survival or vice versa. Do you understand what I mean? So for me, it was just mainly as a teenager. You know,
Okay.
you just want to belong. You want to be a part of the cool kids. You
How
want to be
about
a part
now?
of the crowd. Right now, no. Now I am an adult. I am wiser. I am more mature.
You know better.
But you know what? I think those experiences that I had as a teenager, you know, the fear of missing out, the FOMO, I am very thankful to those experiences because now as an adult, I know what is for me and what is not for me. I will not go to an event if I don't want to, because then now you have to start factoring transport costs. What am I going to eat? What am I going to wear? Let's start there. Do you
Some people go to
understand?
the far extent of actually, you know, borrowing money because they
Exactly.
want to belong. They want, you know, to be in same spaces with other people.
That is
And it's very
absolutely
bad.
true. And I was actually reading an article and it stated and it highlighted that the fear of being left out as a child is actually still in relation to the fear. Can be as painful, I beg your pardon, as being left out as an adult. So my next question would be, do you think that social media has a role to play when it comes to making FOMO even worse for some people?
Absolutely.
100%.
Oh my goodness, social media is the catalyst of FOMO.
Is it really social media?
It has escalated it.
Or isn't it you seeing my status, seeing my snaps, and you think I'm having the time of your life, yet the time of my life, yet I'm not.
that is
But
social
in your
media.
mind, you think I am, and then here you are, you have FOMO.
That is social
that's
media.
social media.
Have you ever had a friend who just knows how to tell a story?
On like WhatsApp.
Exactly. Just knows how to tell a story. And you're like, oh my goodness, I must have missed out on this experience because it is just absolutely exaggerated. And that is what social media does. It's the beautiful pictures. And social media always captures. Look at any a video of any event that has happened. Even if that event flopped, they're going to
will be edited too well.
Edited so well, and they'll concentrate on that corner where people were having a blast, and you're like, oh my god, I missed out on this. Yes, social media.
It escalates
Stay away.
a lot.
One thing that I do when there's a concert coming up and I don't want to go for it, I stay away from social media. Anything that pops up on my timeline in regard to that event, I am going to ignore and actually even put the function like, don't show me anything in regard to this because I do not want to be tempted to go and spend money I don't have.
My experience with FOMO, you know, I feel like social media does escalate it because at the end of the day, you know, you're talking about for you actually switch off your phone. Now me, I'm there. I watch it all. And okay, at some point I felt like, okay, am I missing out on social life? Because, you know, I'm all to myself. Am I really missing out on social? You're seeing your mates going for events, going for concerts, going for weddings, going for introductions, and you're like, okay, what am I doing with my life? So it does escalate it, and it makes you feel like you're probably not doing something right, or just like FOMO himself, you're missing out on something. And trust me, it's very detrimental to your mental health at some point. I will give my experience for lockdown.
Yeah.
During lockdown, because as staying, I had a housemate, you know, with just the two of us, but she would always be up and about because she was an essential worker. So I'd be home alone. But you'd see on people's statuses having, you know, house parties and all that, you know, enjoying life. So they seemed
You
like
need,
they
you
were
need to
enjoying.
get the numbers of the people who are having house parties during lockdown.
So they seemed like they were having a lot of fun. And then there was me spending my day probably watching TV and sleeping. And I'm like, oh my God, everyone else is having fun except me. Yes, that did make me feel a certain way during lockdown.
I
actually.
think we are overly blaming social media for this cause of
What do you
FOMO.
mean
This
overly?
is let me give an example. So I wake up in the morning and I post that, let's say I have been to a beautiful place. I don't want to mention beautiful places just to give people free kalango, but anyway, I've been to a beautiful place and I'll post pictures. Probably I'm going through depression or I'm having anxiety attacks or panic attacks, and I've decided to go to that place and I'm taking Snapchat videos and I'm posting them on my statuses, I'm tweeting and I'm doing Instagram and all this. Deep down, I'm actually in pain.
You're going through
When
it.
you see them, then you're like, oh, I need to visit this place, I need to visit this place, and it's all now FOMO for you. So is it social media or is it you who is seeing this and saying, okay, now I want to do this?
But social
Social
media
media-
is playing a part already.
No, social media is the instrument that is being used to give people this fear of missing out. I mean, how many times have we gone through people's social medias and then it's the biggest influencer. It is. It's the biggest influencer. How many people have you seen, you know, traveling abroad and then you're like, oh my goodness, that's a beautiful picture. I want to go there. Now everybody is going there. Why I say we are not blaming social media. We are acknowledging that it has enhanced this FOMO. And it's not even before we had social media, like I said, we had our friends who knew how to tell stories.
So in
Okay?
short, it is about you being comfortable with what you have per now. Being appreciative.
mean
If you're not able
comfortable?
to attend a
No, and
concert,
there's
if you're
nothing-
not able to have a certain brand or bag, if you're not able to achieve what you think is the ideal that other people have achieved, then you should be able to say, okay, sometimes you get some, sometimes you lose some.
But why? But you say this is the thing. But then why are we shunning FOMO? Because sometimes FOMO is what we need to help us get to where it is that we have to go.
To give
Do
you
you
that
understand?
extra push, yes.
It's that extra push that we need. Yes, it has some detrimental sides to it where it forces people to start living a life that they cannot afford. You start to steal, you start to borrow, you get into debt.
steal.
So that, yes, you get into debt so that you can afford these lifestyles, or, you know, do these things, or you get yourself into a very bad marriage because you see all your friends are getting married. So now you want to be a part of the clique. So you now find the next person available and your backup, your emergency spouse. And now you're getting married. But no, let's look at the upside. Sometimes FOMO is actually good. It's the extra push that we need. Sometimes it's the push that we, you know, sometimes comparison is not a bad thing. When you see that, oh, my friend has achieved this much in her life and we are the same age. Like, what am I not doing right? Maybe I should start, you know, aligning and realigning my goals, my dreams, so that I can get to a place that I need to be at.
More
And
so
then,
like-
and
Oh,
then
that's
also,
good. Then-
It's
then
a-
that-
and then
I mean,
also
it's
to
good.
cut down on the number of hours that you spend on social media. Those people who are always on Snap, actually right now it's like a compulsive need to keep tabs on other people's lives, because you want to know what is going on, where have they gone, what are they doing with their lives. So if you are
That's one of the
reducing
bad
the
things.
FOMO, yes. If you just need to cut down on the number of hours that you spend on social media,
That now comes
especially
under-
Instagram and Snapchat.
Absolutely, and that now comes under how to deal with FOMO, and we shall be getting into that. However, my next question would be, and I'll pose this to you first, Aggie, do you think it's an issue to do with people having some sort of midlife crisis?
Ooh, midlife crisis. I don't think it's about, well, maybe it could be 50-50. It can be the midlife crisis. But then again, I think that people need just to acknowledge that we are different and everyone has, you know, their time. Because at the end of the day, you could be 27-year-olds and somebody is married and somebody else, you know, is just getting their first job. The other person could be, you know, going back to school. So the midlife crisis kind of thing, I personally do not believe in it. I don't. I think it's an idea that people maybe just put into their heads. But the moment you sit down and acknowledge and say, you know what, everyone has their time. Just like if you are a believer in God, then you know that God's timing is the best timing. So people just need to acknowledge, like I said, that everyone has their time. Then sit, but you don't have to believe in the midlife crisis kind of that thinking, the midlife crisis. I do not subscribe to it. I do not believe in it, and that is why I cannot say much about it.
But you do not believe in it, but it's something that does exist.
It does, and I think people need to get rid of it, because at the end of the day, it's very detrimental to your mental health. You will sit back at home and realize, you know what, I think I'm not doing the right thing. Why aren't things moving in the right direction? Why am I not achieving my goals right now? Why is everyone getting married at 25 and I'm not getting married? Why is everyone, you know, building a house at 30 and I'm not building a house at 30? All that pressure, it's a lot of pressure. That's why I don't believe in the midlife crisis mentality.
Okay, so Sarah, do you think that FOMO has anything to do, I mean, the midlife crisis has anything to do or attributed towards encouraging FOMO?
I think FOMO mitigates midlife crisis. Listen, hear me out. Hear me out. Like, see, if you're a teenager and you're curious about certain things,
okay,
I think it's very important as a teenager to experiment. I mean, experiment or ask questions, you know, be curious about
experiment.
If you want to get burnt with fire, if you want to find out how hot fire is,
Please go and touch the fire.
Go and touch that fire, because you know what? If you don't do it now, it is going to come later. Okay, and that itch is still going to be there, and you're going to eventually going to scratch it. Now, the thing about midlife crisis is that it's about people who have skipped fundamental phases in their lives, and that is okay, because you're not always going to know what it is exactly what you want. You okay? For us, society, you know, tells young girls, go to school, fall in love with a man somewhere, but don't tell your parents. Hold that desire until you finish school, get a job, then marry that man of your life, have children with him, settle down, blah, 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 blah. Remember, we know how the fairy tale goes. So a lot of girls go through life following this script that has been set in stone for them by society. And by the time they get to a place, now that they have had their children, they're like, but this is not the fairy tale I wanted. I'm not happy. I'm not content. I didn't go out. I didn't wear short skirts. I didn't really wear makeup. I have never really drank alcohol. I have not misbehaved. I have not had any other relationship but with my husband. So the itch is back, isn't it?
It is.
And hence you're in your midlife crisis.
Absolutely.
And you know, and it's even, that's not even just about relationships. It could be with career. You go on thinking, I want to be this, I want to be this, and you're fixated on that because maybe you want to make mom proud, you want to make dad proud, or you want to make somebody proud. And now you get there, you have accomplished it all the way to PhD, and you're like, you know what? But I don't really want to be a doctor. I want to be a chef.
And I think
midlife crisis.
Just before you actually interject.
Midlife crisis. So, and it is okay. It is okay to actually want to experience the things that you truly want, because sometimes we are told to be ashamed of the things that we want.
But before you interject, and this is something that, Sarah, you've actually preempted. Among the things that I thought, even when I posted this question, when we posted this question on our social media platform, one of the responses I got in my inbox is that a friend of mine told me and said, parents are the reasons as to why teenagers go through FOMO. You are a mom. Do you think parents have a hand in playing in children going through FOMO? How do I say this? Are we not allowing our children to explore? There are kids. I'll give you an example. When I was young, I didn't grow up having teddy bears and all these cute things around me. Now, as old as I am, you walk into my room and that's just the first thing that you see. And then my friend will tell me, you missed a stage, and I say, yes, and that is true. Well, this is a stage that I missed. So do you think that parents always having to be around their teenager and saying, no, you cannot wear lipstick, no, you cannot date now, no, you cannot drink, is actually pushing for FOMO, because then they feel that I did not do this as a teenager, and then you're married, and then you're keeping late nights because you did not experience that stage.
This is the thing that I think parents are very protective. I am one. I know we are very protective of our children. We don't want them to hurt themselves, because we know these things. When your child is curious about the opposite sex, when your child is curious about trying to change their lifestyle one way, they're curious about alcohol, they're curious about cigarettes, like, what is the big deal? Why do people smoke? Why do people drink? What we would do is just usually put the fear of God in our children and say, if you do it, you're going to hell. Okay? But what we need to do is allow our children to have these open conversations with us about why they are curious about these things. Why are you curious about the opposite sex? Why do you feel this way about this person? Why are you curious to test alcohol? Why are you curious to smoke a cigarette, or whatever the case may be? I think we should just be a lot more open to have these open discussions with our children and tell them it is fine. But right now you are too young. So how about we revisit this conversation at another time when you're 18 and I can legally allow you to take a sip. Take a sip, just out of, I know a lot of parents must be like, oh, Sarah, how dare you? But this is the thing. If your children are not going to do it with you, if you're not going to supervise them, they're still going to do it behind your back. So please allow these children to openly tell you honestly why they should. And many times it's because of peer pressure. So have these conversations about them, because now if you continue to shield them and protect them from these things, that is how the FOMO is even just going to,
I think that's what Sarah said.
Because then a child will make decisions or will get into certain habits because they are afraid of missing out.
And they want to fit
in. Every other
in.
person has done it. Because I mean, how many times did we go to school, or how many times do children go to school and people are talking about crushes, and people are talking about dating, and people are talking about being given a Valentine's gift, and for you have no idea of what is going on.
Exactly.
Why? Because you've never had a boyfriend.
And then now it pushes you to buy yourself gifts.
And then surprise yourself.
Pretend like you received.
The thing about midlife crisis, I think you as a person, you need to acknowledge that I can have I cannot have the same experiences from Sarah. I mean, I might want things totally different from Sarah. The only problem is when you feel you want to do what other people are doing. That's when you get, to the age of 35 and wondering like, oh, I missed out on this. Because maybe that's what you wanted to do then, but you didn't have the chance
but
to
you see,
do it.
Are you saying that parents
are
not to blame for encouraging?
No. I'm going to give you a short story. Yesterday I watched a video where they were toasting, and then there were glasses of wine, there were older people, and then there were 3 kids, and then this boy held the glass to toast, and then he did sip, and everyone was like, oh my God, you're taking wine, you're a child. And the father to this child said, yeah, it's okay, I mean, it's just a toast we are taking, it's not like he's... So you talked about parents not encouraging that they should drink, but you are actually monitoring them, watching them. But the moment you deprive them completely, I'll give my example of when I was little, and I wanted to wear powder. So I would go to my mom's closet when she's not around, because she said, no, this is for older people. So I would steal it and then put it on my face because I wanted to. And I couldn't wait for the time when I'm old enough to actually, do makeup on my face. Now, right now, I can go without makeup because I've done the makeup. I've had the liberty to do it, and, But the fact that back in the day my mom deprived me, I was very anxious. I always curious to put powder on my face because I felt like it made my mom look, more beautiful. And yet I was being deprived.
This is what I have to say. I don't think it's that clear cut that people are trying to live their life the way other people are. It's not that clear cut. Sometimes you are in a society where everybody is doing that one thing, and it's not that you want to fit in. It's you are being taught that this is what is, and you're also seeing that this is what is, just out of curiosity. I mean, just out of your thinking is like, okay, perhaps since let me give examples. If you grow up in a family and everybody is in a specific career, everybody is a lawyer, you're going to think that you are also supposed to be a lawyer, and you're going to try to attain that type of success or that career. But then when you get there, you realize that this is probably not for me, so let me switch it up. So that is what I mean. It's not clear cut. Sometimes we think we know what we want until we get to a point where we actually meet ourselves and are like, what, perhaps being a wife is not for me.
Take time to find yourself and what you want.
The thing about FOMO and acting on feelings of fear of missing out could actually go 2 ways. It could go the bad way, it could go the good way. The good way could be, okay, I've lived that, done that, you know, I've gone out, I've done the makeup, I do my lips, I put my eyelashes, and you know what, at the end of the day, it's okay, I've gone out and I'm satisfied. For some people, it could actually go wrong. When you act on your feelings of fear of missing out, it could actually go wrong for you. You could end up being sedated, you could end up being raped.
Pregnant.
You may not, for
At
some
a tender
people,
age.
it doesn't always go well, because then you're acting, you're doing something because you do not want to miss out. So it could go two ways. So I think it's very important that you understand that even while you're having a phase where you feel that you are afraid of missing out on something, you look at the consequences, because there are always consequences to acting upon such feelings. However, I did come across a video that I would like you to take a look at, and then after that we shall come back, and together with the ladies we shall discuss and get to understand how we can actually break the cycle of the fear of missing out. Please watch.
Drake said, "People always tell me nobody's working as hard as you. And even though I laugh it off, it's probably true. Because while all my closest friends are out partying, I'm busy here making all the music that they party to." How many of you have ever made a decision based on the fear of missing out? FOMO. It controls our lives, from what we post on our grid to where we go with our miles. We end up living the life we think others expect of us, rather than the life we truly want. We go to parties when we want to work. We go to work parties when we want to side hustle. We say yes when we really want to say no, and we say no when we really want to say yes. Now, don't get me wrong, we don't need to disappear, but we can trade parties for intimate gatherings. Not going out doesn't mean we can't be around people. We all love people we can have fun with, have a laugh with, and then switch directly into a deep, meaningful conversation. Spending time with them one-to-one, face-to-face, can deepen that bond. We can trade nights out for knowledge seeking. Sometimes we just need a break from it all. According to WebMD, we genuinely need that necessary me time. And most of us don't give it to ourselves because we feel guilty.
Now, after watching that video, we're going to look at actually on how best we can get rid of this FOMO. So ladies, any ideas from your experience? I'll start with you, Sarah.
Okay.
First of all, guys, this is my thing. Why are we treating like FOMO is such a bad thing? It's okay to discover yourself. It's okay to explore. Actually, you only discover yourself after you explore. No? You always find a nice place after you explore. You always find your center of peace after you explore. So for me, I'm all about explore, make as many mistakes as possible, and learn from those mistakes. And every time you make a mistake and you find that you don't like a certain thing, you cancel it out. I don't think, going to the club or staying out late is for me. That is out. I don't like this hanging out with this person. You cancel that out. I don't like wearing this kind of makeup. You cancel that out. So keep on exploring. For me personally, FOMO is not a bad thing. Experience it.
So for someone that is going through it, they should experience it.
Experience it.
With no limit attached to it.
Experience it. If you're curious to know how hot the fire is,
Just
touch
watch
it. You may not like the burning sensation, you may like the burning sensation, or it may not do anything for you. Explore. Find yourself, so that until you a place, until you get to a place in your life where you're completely content. And there's nothing wrong with continuously learn. As we get older, my interest last year may not be the same this year, and my interest this year may not be the one the next year. So explore. Keep on discovering yourself and rediscovering yourself. In my opinion, FOMO is not a bad thing.
Okay. And how about you, Abby?
Okay, for me, it's very simple. You just need to find yourself. I think it takes time to find yourself, and just like Sarah said, you have sometimes to go through experiences to find yourself. And that is if those experiences do not impose or very harmful effects to your life. I mean, you could say, let me go and explore drugs, and before you know it, you're in a state of depression where we've seen people who haven't recovered, who have gone to the far extent of committing suicide. So the exploration needs to be limited, and also you need to take time. Have that alone time. I do that a lot. Have that alone time where to sit back, rediscover, find yourself what you want besides what people in your circle or people in your family want. Because you talked about if it's a family of lawyers, and then you feel the need to be a lawyer, but at the back of your mind you don't want to be a lawyer. That is where you see people going to school, studying going to law school for 4 years, and then LDC, and before you know it, you're like, this is not my place. Let me go to the media. Okay. So I think if it's done prior or earlier in time, the discovery process, maybe this is something that should be taught in school, where kids have alone time to sit back just on your own and find out, what do I want, what do I want, and also cut down on the pressure of this one is doing this one is experiencing this, so I have to do that as well. And also the timelines, I think they add on to the FOMO, because the timelines of getting married by 25 as an African woman, if you have that at the back of your mind, you'll always have that fear of I'm not getting married, what is wrong with me? Before you know it, you're making very wrong decisions, marrying the wrong people. Divorce rates are up there because of that particular reason. So find yourself, and then cut down on the pressure. And then if you're a believer, then you know that God's timing is always perfect. Have that at the back of your mind. Trust me, it will go a long way in helping you be at peace while everyone is experiencing what they're experiencing in life.
Explore. You know I think that's funny. When I was a lot younger, my friends would always say, oh, don't go with that guy, don't date him, he's a terrible person. I was like, I don't know that, let me go and explore. But you see, my fear of missing out pushed me into circumstances that helped me discover who I am and what it is I want. It helped me build my confidence. And I think we need to start taking the lessons, all the hurt that we learned from experiencing things that we were curious about. Learn from it, upgrade yourself, and be a better person. Now I know what I can and cannot tolerate when it comes to dating.
That is indeed true. But like I said,
even with careers, I'm sorry to cut you off, but even with careers, even if you have gone all the way to almost handing in your dissertation with your master's or your PhD, and you find out that perhaps this is not for me, it is okay. Drop it. Okay, maybe finish. Okay, you're already at the finish line, so finish and then start all over again.
Wasted years.
No, it's not wasted years. You were discovering yourself. How would you have known you wasted years if you didn't get to a point where you were like, this is not for me?
So I understand where both of you are coming from, and I think FOMO, like Sarah has said, is actually not a bad thing. However, it could go two ways. There are some people who get curious and they get burnt and they're able to move. There are some people who are curious, experience, and then they remain in the, if you're curious about drugs, you get addicted, and then you're battling with mental health. That's not so good. But there are people who go through it and actually come out stronger. However, I'll end by saying this, and of course, as we wrap up the conversation, this is how to deal with FOMO. This is an article that I read, and I picked out a few things. The first one is relish feeling out of the loop. Great things are indeed happening out there, and sometimes you are not invited. Admit that you are missing out, and there is nothing you can do about it. If you know that you cannot afford to go for Fireboy, my friend, sit down, relax. Don't disturb someone's son because of FOMO. No, don't get a sponsor. The next one is take a break from social media. Try staying offline for a day, a week, or even a month. However, I feel like that is sort of a way of running away from your problems, because for how long will you stay away from social media? We are in a social media era. The next one is delete all social media apps, get a detox, and finally stop appearing that aren't your success with others. Stop comparing your success with other people's success. And for me personally, what I just want to leave with you, that if you are going through a phase where you are afraid of missing out, do a JOMO. This is actually something that I learned from Steve Harvey, the joy of missing out. In other words, you can say, oh my God, I did not go for Fireboy. Can you imagine? And just laugh about it, and that's okay. So replace your fear of missing out with the joy of missing out. That's all we had for you this morning on Our Views. Keep watching Sunrise at Sea.
I hope you had such a wonderful time with us right here on the show. And just like Shivan said, I'll leave you with that. Just replace your FOMO with JOMO. You know, the joy of hearing out. Be content that you did not go, and you know.
No, it's
Replacing
not.
the joy.
Hey,
Fake
it until you make it. Say, at least I got my laundry done. At least I got to sleep. At least I got to spend time with family. You know, whatever the case, replace it with gratitude, whatever the case may be. But, you know, in all seriousness, I am all for experiencing. And please find yourself. And whenever you make mistakes, don't be ashamed of them. Learn from them. It's important. Learn from them, and then, you know, pick yourself up the best way you can and move on. Okay, so until tomorrow, same time, same place, from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. This is Sunrise at Sea. We'll see you again tomorrow, but keep watching CTV from the Ladies at Night. Please follow SOPs, be kind, practice gratitude and JOMO. Until tomorrow, bye-bye.
This is CTV.